World Championship Wreckage, presenting wrestling the way you remember it.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Wreckage here on World Championship Wreckage's YouTube channel. As always, I am your friendly neighborhood dad hat wearing wrestling fan, joined by my buddy from the great state of Tennessee, wearing his orange Tennessee hat, as always, the Will Gray. What's up, buddy?
It's good to see you guys. It's good to see you. It's good to see XLJ.
Yeah, XLJ joining us from Cole TV. If you didn't know it, he's got the big heads floating behind him. So Cole TV in the house as well. But you know, we were back last week or a week before that, and we talked a little TNA Asylum, and we got off the recording, and I realized we didn't even pick a subject for the next episode, and so Will picked. And so tonight we're staying in the world of TNA. And it's going to be an interesting episode because it might be one of the first times that XLJ and I disagree. We're going to be talking about Aces and Eights, the group in TNA that gave Bully Ray a world title run. I can already see XLJ's like, let me loose.
God, Aces and Eights, or Sons of Anarchy. I mean, yeah, I got so many problems with. Okay, here's the thing. Like, I will give credit where credit's due. Did it have me tune into TNA to kind of see what was going on? Yes, because I was like, what is this? But when it was each week as it progressed, I'm just like, okay, I see what happened. Eric Bischoff and Hulk Hogan, they apparently they watched a marathon or something of Sons of Anarchy, and they're like, you know what? That should be a faction, brother. You know what? Let's just give it to Bully Ray. Like, and just the whole shit with Bully Ray, and it was just plain as day. Like, it's like, come on, man. It's like, really? Are we playing this game? Like, no, he's with TNA. He's a Crusader. He loves Brooke Hogan. And the fact that Hogan's involved in it too is like a double whammy for me, because this era of TNA, I gotta be honest with you, DadHat, I fucking hated. I did not care for it with the Hogan Bischoff regime. I was just like, ugh.
See, I haven't technically gotten there yet, but I've seen the complete history of Aces and Eights, so I at least know this.
So going into this episode, one of my biggest questions was going to be, and I'll ask you guys right now before we kind of dive into the history, some of it with them, was Aces and Eights, or maybe Main Event Mafia, depending on how you want to look at it, was this their attempt at an NWO or a DX? Because when you look at who was in it, who interacted with them, how they were presented on TV, the anti-establishment, was this their version of that NWO DX style faction going into it? Because to me, going back, rewatching the history, a lot of this was a rewatch for me, because this is in that downtime, that 2010, 2016-ish range where I was making babies versus watching wrestling, and to me, it's like going back and rewatching it and seeing it and learning about it. Like, that's what this felt like the most, was just TNA's version of DX or TNA's version of NWO. And it just, to me, I liked it. I loved the Sons of Anarchy, the cuts, the prospects, like everything about it was cool. We'll talk about how they introduced some of the members as they went along. But like, to me, it felt almost like you could tell they were reaching to make this their NWO.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think so. I mean, my big statement I'm going to say about this is I think it would have been pulled off better and I think it would have worked better. Nothing against people like, Devon or D'Lo Brown. A little bit bigger of a name, like names, like
It doesn't get bigger than Garrett Bischoff. What are you talking about?
I was about to say Garrett Bischoff. Which one of the
Festus.
Briscoes was it?
Yeah. Come on, man. It doesn't get bigger than that. Red Velvet's husband. Come on, man.
There's a Briscoe in there.
Yeah.
Wasn't there a Briscoe at one point?
Yeah, that's Red Velvet's husband. I can't think of his name right now. Was it Wes?
I'm looking it up.
Right?
Yeah, it was Wes Briscoe.
West
Okay.
Briscoe,
Yeah.
but not. I'm thinking like.
Yeah, Red Velvet's husband.
I'm thinking Ring of Honor Briscoe. It's like.
Oh yeah, no,
Yeah.
not them. No, this is legit. Like as far as was it Jerry's kid? Like he's one his dad. I thought it was Gerald. I can't remember if it was Gerald Briscoe's kid.
Yeah, it's Gerald Briscoe's.
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah, I think it's actually his son, who's married to Red Velvet.
So I've got the list of names in front of me, and it's like when you look at aces and eights at the top and you start going down the list of names, you're like, okay, it starts real strong, and then you get to that mid range, and then you get to the bottom of it, and you're kind of going, who? What? Bully Ray, Brooke Hogan, gotta love the little Brooke Hogan mixed in there. D'Lo Brown, you're like, hell yeah, the greatest European champion of all time.
Greatest European
Mr.
champion.
Intercontinental title for a long time. Mr. Anderson, the Money in the Bank getting screwed over after all that. Like everything that was Mr. Anderson. Devon, part of Bully Ray, world's most decorated tag team. And then you get into Tito Ortiz. Taz, like, okay. But Doc, the DOC, Garrett Bischoff, Mike Knox. That was one that got me, the Mike Knox call out, because I saw Mike Knox win the Crockett Cup with Trevor Murdoch. And like going back and seeing his name on this list and him coming out and Nux or whatever they called him. Then you start getting in your Wes Briscoes, your CJ O'Doyle's, your like, yeah, that's what some of these people in this names, having gone back and watched the history of the aces and eights, and I'm like, this is like the entirety of NWO crammed into 14 months, because you get the prime NWO, the outsiders, you're like, this could be really great, and then barely a year later, by the end of it, you're like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah,
like it's like the 7 years of, or the 5 years, 6 years of the NWO all crammed into 14 months.
Yeah. I mean, I like the debut of this is during like what I would like to call, and I again haven't gotten there, haven't seen all of it, but like the TNAs, again, Hogan and Bischoff binged The Office and was like, you know what, we're going to do some peering through blind segments and eavesdropping, and that's just how their backstage segments were. And so you're getting that mixed in with jumping in the ring, wearing those masks that are like the people think of the Shield nowadays. And it's like, who is this? But I mean, you got to say they start off strong. They start off strong by jumping Sting.
So let me ask you a question though, XLJ. I know you guys Friday night movie night. No free shout outs. Let's give it its due. You watch a lot of movies. When you watch some of these promos, and especially now in the last 24 hours, you're still going back and rewatching some of them. When the dude came in with the note for Hogan, and Hogan was like running office out of this bullshit makeshift office, and it's like the worst acting known to man. And it's like, what it was, I wrote the quote down. We're not cowards. We got something for you, Hogan. But it's like the most B-list shindy acting job ever. Because this dude was, I'm not body shaming anyone, gentlemen. You know me, I don't yuck any yums. But I'm definitely not a Terry fan either. But looking at this dude across the table from Hogan looked like he would snap this dude like a twig.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, what about this was supposed to be intimidating when you send somebody in who's half the size of Hollywood Hulk Hogan? Like, it just, to me, some of it almost seemed comical, like bad acting. And I wasn't coming in. I guess maybe I was in the middle. If you were the heel of it and DadHat's up here and I'm in the middle, because looking back at some of it, I'm like, what the hell is this? Like,
Yeah.
why? This was really poorly done.
And I mean, you mentioned Mr. Anderson. Like, there's a power struggle there too, because first he's against them, and then he joins them. And again, I talked about like the office style peering through blinds. You get like their clubhouse. You get a little bit of that. You get which there's got to be a heel commentator, so why not make him an aces and eights member, right? So like that's where Taz jumps in.
I remember the time too when like Katie Seagal was sleeping with Juan Perlman and they got busted for meth. Oh shit, Sons of Anarchy again. Sorry, guys.
Go ahead,
yeah.
XLJ, sorry.
As far as the acting, like it reminded me of like the fucking 92 WCW promos packages and shit they did. Like it was like on par with that, with a way lesser budget. It was just like, what the fuck are we doing here? Like, let's just
independent movie acting kind of stuff.
Yeah. It's like, you know what? It's okay. Let's just have one light bulb swinging from the, like, oh yeah, this looks cryptic and shit. Like,
and I will say this though, they also with aces and eights, they tied in one of the greatest wrestling devices ever. We had a wrestling wedding as part of this storyline.
Yeah.
Brooke Hogan marries Bully Ray.
Oh dear God. Dear God.
So there could be those little twins that she just had. They could be little bullies.
Little bullies.
God help us.
Let me ask you guys a question.
Hold on. Super hot take. Bully Ray, the greatest TNA champion of all time. Boom.
No. That's something.
I'm joking. I'm joking.
Doing that to get a rise out of me. No.
Yeah. But I do love Bully Ray. I do love
David Arquette's the greatest WCW champion, right?
So this is also the TNA belt during this time, the TNA championship belt that I hate the most.
Oh yeah. When they finally started announcing members, this was maybe one of my favorite parts about Aces and Eights, was how we got Devon, and then they started unmasking members like one at a time as the group started to come to light. DadHat, you and I talked about this in one of the early WCW episodes when we talked about the Outsiders and leading up to Hogan's heel turn. And we said we felt like they almost shortened it up because they popped their cherry so quickly by having Scott Hall show up and then Nash show up so quickly. And then by July for Bash at the Beach, Hogan's already made the heel turn, a quarter, 90 days later or whatever it was. Do you feel like this is more of what you think they could have done with the NWO the long trickle out? Because starting in June when they debuted all the way through the summer, they were trickling out, like unmasking members of Aces and Eights while they were going through Hogan. And at one point, they even messed with the main event between Jeff Hardy and Bully Ray. You know what I mean? Like they were kind of all over the place. Like, was this how you felt like they could have done the NWO? Like giving them a little bit of roses? Because we talked about how the NWO could have played out longer. Is this what you were talking about? How they gave us that kind of slow trickle out with the members of Aces and Eights?
Yeah, because I mean, with Aces and Eights, you get, even when one person is unmasked, you might see them unmasked now, but then everybody else that's around them is still masked. They're not giving that away. I mean, but one, that also gives you the opportunity of like, oh, okay, another big name on the indies or from another company became available. Can we use them in there? Let's plug them in. They haven't been unmasked yet, so they could use them. But yeah, I mean, utilizing that, it helps spread out the story long term. Whereas like we said, watching the Outsiders and the NWO and Hogan and everything, I mean, if you go back and rewatch it, I mean, it all happened so fast. Like when you see those classic video clips of the NWO, like, and you see like what leads up to Bash at the Beach. All right, cool. That's what happens literally on every Nitro leading up to it, because it's just boom, 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 boom. Like, whereas this is going to be very drawn out. and different things too. I mean, they're incorporating aces and eights around different people. You know, the Hogan and Brooks storyline with Bully Ray, with Sting and Mr. Anderson. Like, they're it's not just, you know, hey, we're focused on one thing. It's throughout the programming.
For me, I just wanted the fucking story to get done with, because it's like the whole time it's like, oh, quit with the Bully Ray is a good guy bullshit. It's like we all fucking know, it's plain as day. This is leading to him, like this is his group. I mean, it was just like, to me, I was just like, Jesus, this is like, what the fuck are we doing?
As somebody
Like,
who watched it live, because again, I went back and rewatched it. DadHat, did you watch through this? Were you watching TNA live when this happened?
No.
Like watching it live, was it because having rewatched some of it and again seeing the history, the writing on the wall, it was the most obvious answer ever. Was as soon as Devon was the first member, we obviously knew who was calling the shots, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if this is the right hand running aces and eights, we know who the leaders. Was it that obvious for you watching it live in 2012 as a fan? Then did you go like immediately, or at least within the first couple weeks, you were like, "This has got to be Bully Ray, right?"
the way I looked at it, because I mean, it's like, look at what he fucking been doing before. His name is Bully fucking Ray. Like, what more do you fucking want, people? Like, come on. It's, I mean, Jesus Christ. Yeah, I mean, if you, and then you look back at like the stuff the Dudleys did in ECW, I mean, the nuclear heat there, nuclear heat. So, I mean, Bully as a good guy, that doesn't fucking work. It just does. Like, I mean, he has to play a heel. And like for this to be this action that's taken over, that's like gonna, and I mean the seeds were already there too, with like kind of, if I remember correctly too, kind of Bully had gone through the bullshit with the Hogan regime, and then there's just the whole like him falling in love with Brooke Hogan. I was like, what the fuck? Like, no, like,
I will give Bully his roses during this time, though. The best shape of his entire career.
oh, 100%, yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But could he just pull that fucking stocking cap up a little bit higher so I could see his fucking eyes? Like, it just like the whole, here's the thing with Bully during this time frame. This is the best way I can sum up with Aces and Eights. Is I looked at it as like a 40, this is in the 2010 time frame. This is a 40-year-old male going through a midlife crisis where they're wearing way too tight of like Ed Hardy shirts or fucking the Randy Extreme Couture shit. They're spraying down with Axe body spray. It's midlife crisis. I hated everything fucking about this group and about Bully Ray, and I wasn't buying it, man.
I just realized that XLJ is not going to like me in about 5 years. Then I guess.
I wouldn't say that.
What do you guys think about the kind of freebird rules? Like after, because they debuted in June, they didn't actually wrestle their first match until Bound for Glory that same year. So it was 4 months or whatever, 3 or 4 months after their debut. And when they did start wrestling, anytime they would do the tag matches, they would be these masked members of Aces and Eights. Was this a cop-out way of booking a match, or was this mysterious because their opponents didn't really know who they were going to be working?
You want my honest opinion?
Yeah, I'm asking because I'm curious
Yes.
about it now, having looked at it from both perspectives.
I didn't give a shit.
You didn't give you any aura whatsoever?
No, I was just like, just get this shit over with. That's how I looked at it the whole time, Will, because I was like, okay, it's Bully fucking Ray. Like, let's just come out and fucking say it. And then like just the whole at the end of it where Bully's like, I got you all. It's like, shut the fuck up. Like, God damn it. Like, you think you're this god, like, badass heel on a pedestal or whatever. And it's like, no, dude. Like, I will say this. I do think Bully at the time did deserve a run as a world champion. Because, I mean, I think Bully's Bully. But it's just like the whole it wasn't for me, man. That's the best way. I mean, some people was cool with it. But for me, I was just like, I was turning the fucking channel. Like, the only good thing I felt like that came out of this is the fact that Chris Sabin got a world title out of it. That's my opinion.
Speaking of title reigns, Devon, the illustrious TNA Television Championship, Bully Ray had 2 world title reigns under the Aces and Eights run, as we previously mentioned. Did they miss an opportunity by putting the tag belts on Bully Ray and Devon in the Aces and Eights? They put a mid-card title on Devon right off the rip, so it obviously wasn't the whole we don't want to make the faction feel weak by putting a mid-card title on them. That shouldn't have been the worry because they put the TV title on the only unmasked member at the time. They had him take a loss to Angle, so it wasn't like they were unbeatable. Did they miss an opportunity by not having the, Bubba Ray and Devon win the tag belts here when they gave them a mid-card title and a world heavyweight title during this faction, but not a tag title run? Did they miss the mark by not giving these guys a tag title run here?
No, I think if you're going to give them the tag titles during this, they need to hold the tag titles at the same time they're holding those other 2 titles.
Making it like a 2-man power trip, maybe?
Yeah, because you're making them as they're together, but you're utilizing them as individuals.
So Austin and Triple H, yeah.
I feel like the focus was really like putting the Dudleys or Team 3D as single competitors and not so much as a tag team. So, I think that was the real focus here was like, and making Bully Ray as the top heel in the company. I think if they would have gave them a tag title reign, I don't think it would have, I think it may have taken away slightly from their from Bully's world title run. Cause I think it was he's just trying to get out of the shadows of being a tag team wrestler and more so being like not only a singles wrestler, but essentially the top singles wrestler in the company, their top heel.
Well said. I'm looking at a list now and I'm seeing Wrestling Observer. Okay. We all love Uncle Dave. 2012 and 2013, worst gimmick in wrestling. Do you think, obviously, XLJ, I have a feeling I know your answer before I ask.
I never thought I would agree with Dave Meltzer, but yes, indeed.
Hearing that, do you think this was the worst gimmick in wrestling for 2 consecutive years? Because coming into this episode, like I said, Aces and Eights and Main Event Mafia are their 2 big factions that I always go to in TNA wrestling history. And I always think of Main Event Mafia is like the corporation-ish, and Aces and Eights is their NWO DX anti-establishment, right? So to me, I was like, more in the middle. This wasn't my favorite. I like DX over NWO, and Aces and Eights would be my 3rd anti-establishment faction. Not my favorite by far. Was this the worst gimmick in wrestling, though?
I have to look at that. I don't know overall. I don't, as much as I hate Aces, I don't think I could say overall.
That seems extreme. These guys had 2 world title runs during this reign. How are they the worst gimmick in wrestling if they were the top act in the 2nd biggest company in the world? You see what I mean? Am I making my right? You see what I'm smelling when I'm stepping in?
I see what you're cooking. It's not as good as like some of your barbecue you make, but I see what you're cooking.
I do make some mean ass barbecue. Thank you.
Yeah, you do.
His meat's pretty delicious.
Plugging each other's shit all over the place. HotLikeSauceBarbecue.com. People, check it out.
Do it. I think it was just, man, the thing of it is it just, to me, the whole thing with Aces, it just felt lame. Okay, here's the thing. All right. Like I said before, it's heavily influenced by Sons of Anarchy. There's no doubt denying that.
He wore a Sergeant at Arms patch, for crying out loud.
let's say
that show was massive at that time, though.
It was huge.
Yeah, and it was a good
fucking show.
Don't get me wrong. But let's do a little bit of hypothetical here, and let's do some time travel. Let's go back into the 1980s. Let's say Vince McMahon one day was watching the A-Team. He's like, "Oh, that's some good shit, pal. You know what? I'm gonna pair the US Express with Rocky Johnson, and like then I'm gonna have my own A-Team. Let's call them the C-Team or something like that." It's just like fucking
the B-Team.
That
they already did that.
They did that later on.
Yeah, did that later on. But
shout out to Curtis Axel and Bo Dallas.
But yeah, it's just it was, to me, like I said before, it just the whole thing, their whole theme of being. And come on, Bully Ray is like a biker gang leader. Has Bully Ray even ever rode on a fucking motorcycle before? I don't know that about him, but I don't see him as like a Harley guy or anything like that. Like
No.
just that the whole.
It
I
comes
think
from
here's
New York and New Jersey. It's the land of where you don't deal with vehicles.
right. I mean, I just the motorcycle gang theme, the whole like the presentation, the looks, the gear they was wearing. Like I said earlier, they just to me it just felt like it was midlife crisis, like fucking that era, because that era specifically, I just remember that aura of that type of clothing, that type of style, that type of like presentation was just it was lame to me.
When Doc Gallows went from Aces and Eights to Bullet Club, do you think they had to jump him out of one to get into the other? Was there like a gang initiation we saw behind the scene?
No, they're like brother, you've suffered enough. It's okay. You're with us now. And plus, he probably did his Howard Finkel impression, like you're fucking.
Other Aces and Eights trivia knowledge for us, okay? In 2013, every member of Aces and Eights was ranked in the PWI Top 500. Who do you think was the highest ranked?
I would assume Bully.
Bully, number 4, obviously. Next highest, who would you assume? And what just roughly idea of what number they would be at? I'm coming at you guys blind.
Anderson.
I'm thinking Anderson like in the 40 range.
Devon, 32.
Okay.
Anderson was 62. Okay, so we've top 3 in the group roughly. We're at the 62. All right, who else do you think was ranked 2013?
D'Lo Brown.
D'Lo Brown is not on the list.
Okay. I mean, he was kind of
probably Briscoe.
Briscoe is on the list. 101.
Oh, that's way too high.
Yeah. Do you want to know who's between him and Anderson conveniently at number 69? Giggity, giggity.
Garrett Briscoe. I mean, Garrett Bischoff.
No, the DOC.
Oh.
Doc Gallows coming in at number 69 in the top 500 as a singles wrestler. I would not have thought the old Doc Gallows is a top 100 in the world singles wrestler. Briscoe, Mike Knox, and Bischoff all round out the Aces and Eights. 101 for Briscoe, 132 for Mike Knox, and 235 for Bischoff.
I mean, Bischoff he was learning. I mean, he was green. Like this was his like
very much so.
Young. But do you think that's a little bit of did he earn that spot over a D'Lo Brown, who was not really working as much, but still very active in the storyline? Do you think like some skewed opinions here? Because
I mean, I'm looking at this in terms of like the business side of things. Like, yes, Eric Bischoff is his father, but at the same time, it's okay. You got a new talent who's trying to learn. Put him with vets. I mean, so you've got, and he was with people that were on all levels in that group, from your super established who've been in big matches at WrestleMania, down to those who've been wrestling for a couple of months. So I mean, he got to he was in a perfect place to learn because he can see everything.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I just
he just
I feel like yeah, I do. But I feel like some of those names you named there, I feel like they were pretty much put in the 500 because they were a part of Aces of Eights. That's it. If I'm being honest. I mean, what the hell has Garrett Bischoff ever done since this?
Nothing.
Yeah.
He was there because of who his padre was and who was, signing the checks and holding the pencil, as they say.
Yeah.
See, I can't hate on it. See, to me, like, again, I'm still watching all of TNA from the beginning. Haven't even got to this point yet and everything. And there's a lot after it and it's still going on. But, like, I've watched a lot of the complete histories, that they drop on YouTube, and they do a great – I love when they would drop those. I just really enjoyed the storyline. I don't know why. Like, maybe because I am a huge NWO fan and it's reminiscent of that. Like, that's the only thing maybe I can think of. But like, and I'm a big Dudley Boys fan, so of course it draws me in there. And I was a big D'Lo Brown fan, and Mr. Anderson. Like, I'm a big fan of him. Like, so I don't know. It checked boxes for me.
I rattled it off when we got through the list of names that are in the group. What do you guys think about? It's a Tito Ortiz in Bellator. What do you think about these crossover promotions where we get these MMA fighters or these boxers? Again, I'm going to liken it to another one. Is this, TNA attempting a Mike Tyson moment by bringing somebody in from a real, in quotations, combat sport to legitimize the toughness of this faction?
I didn't even realize Tito Ortiz was a part of Aces and Eights. I don't even remember that.
It was in a one-off. It was building with his pay-per-view fight with Rampage Jackson at the time. It was like all tied in with that as a promotion thing. He got brought in. They were having a Bellator fight.
God.
Yes, I didn't remember that. But I mean, WCW
Again,
did it.
I probably
WCW
wouldn't
did it.
remember it if it wasn't for the history and me having like lists and stuff made. Again, like some of this is definitely me making notes, not necessarily me withdrawing straight off a fucking rip in my memory, boys. That is not what's happening. I am not the Aces and Eights encyclopedia.
I mean, WCW, they partner with New Japan, so I mean, they had New Japan NWO members.
Yeah.
Well, correct me here if I'm wrong. Bellator was owned or affiliated with Spike, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is where TNA was on Spike too. So I'm guessing there's that is the correlation. Because I mean, here's the thing and this is no disrespect to Bellator, but let's call a spade a spade. If I don't want to use the term washed up, but I mean not at the highest caliber of mixed martial arts, because I mean that was the UFC. I mean,
no good, rotten bastard.
Anyways, yeah, I am, Rick. Yeah, I am. But the thing is, it's like at this point, Tito Ortiz stock, I mean, it was just kind of plummeting, really. I mean, okay, and like we got and I love Quentin Rampage Jackson, one of my favorites. Don't get me wrong. But also, it's just the thing where age catches up to you, and at this point, they could not compete at the level of like UFC. And I know we're not really talking about that, but my point I'm going with this is like, okay, so TNA brings in Tito Ortiz, and it's like, oh my God, we got this MMA fighter or whatever. It's not as impactful now when TNA brought him in like, what was it, 2005 or something like that? And when Tito was still, one of the top contenders in that light heavyweight division in UFC, that meant more of an impact, I think. Mm-hmm. But at this point, Tito Ortiz is really an afterthought. So I don't think it really matters at this point.
Getting through my list of notes and add-ons. We talked about their list. It was the whole very much TNA against them thing. They had Sting and they had Angle. They wrestled Abyss, AJ Styles. Like you go through and you look at some of these things, like, again, we talked about it a little bit, DadHat, in the last one. And this is more so just me fanboying about it. How effing stacked was the TNA roster? Because we talked about it in the Asylum, DadHat, and we were like, holy shit, these guys had everybody. And then we look at it here, the list that I just did. Again, Mr. Anderson, all the guys that are in Aces and Eights. And it's like, and then you got the Motor City Machine Guns. You got Magnus, like everybody that's doing what they're doing. This Nick Aldis for the uninitiated, by the way. Was TNA, like, have they just historically had stacked rosters on the low end, like on the low key without people realizing how good they were? Because again, this is one of those, I opened it up, I went and read my notes, I went back and looked at it. I was like, holy shit, how good was this roster 13 years ago?
I can answer that in 2 words.
Yes, boys.
Yeah. I'm not necessarily looking forward to getting to this. Like, okay, so where I am watching TNA right now, Angle's been there maybe for like a year now. He's won the world title and everything.
You're about to get prime Angle.
And I'm about to say something that's going to piss some people off, including our buddy Jax here, because we know how much Jax loves Kurt Angle and everything. People want to hate on Jeff Jarrett and Triple H for their power trip. Kurt Angle power trip in TNA. I'm already at the point where I'm like, shut up, Kurt Angle. Like I am a fan of yours, and you are one of the most talented in-ring performer ever. but shut up.
Good old
Like,
Kurt Cena.
like just but as a heel, it's just like
Wait till he puts every title in the company on himself.
I know that happens, but
You know,
The
including
IWGP title at the
yeah.
same time.
yeah.
Wait a minute, but give me this because it hasn't happened yet. Does Joe ever win the damn TNA World Title?
Yeah. I believe he does.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, are we really playing spoiler multiple times? I believe.
Yeah.
because we haven't gotten there yet, and I'm just like,
Well, I knew for sure one because him and Angle, that's pretty much Angle's biggest adversary in the whole I'm going to win all the gold thing was because Joe had the TV title and was one half of the tag titles at the time, I'm pretty sure. And then it was all together because Joe fought for the world title. And that's when, because that was what combined fucking everything into one was a winner take all match between Angle and Joe, if my memory serves right.
because
Yeah.
where I am right now, it's just like he keeps getting opportunities, and that's like you build him up as like he was undefeated, unsubmitted for like almost 2 years at the get go, and now like every time there's a world championship opportunity, it's like, and he loses, and he loses, and I'm just like, please tell me he at least gets it once in this entire run.
He's
Like,
he gets his.
I think
He
the big
does.
buildup was to they had they hyped it up like an MMA style fight at Lockdown, one of the lockdowns,
mhm.
where it was Joe and Angle in a cage, and like Angle,
I
it's
mean,
weird. It's like
they-
Angle goes into it like an MMA fighter, like he's not even wearing boots, he's like barefoot and stuff, and
I mean, they've wrestled like 6 times at this point since Angle showed up where I am.
it was a very long build before Joe got the title. And
Yeah.
it was kind of almost one of those scenarios where it was like, it's almost too late. I mean, it still
Yeah.
worked, but it was just like you should have put the belt on him a long time ago.
So they debuted in July or June of 2012. In November of 2013, the faction broke up. It was Mr. Anderson versus Bully Ray. And if Anderson lost, he had to leave TNA. If Bully won or if Bully lost, the Aces and Eights had to split up. That was how they ended it. They had a funeral for the group. Again, I felt like this. I'm going to ask you guys, missed opportunity by not having it be Bully versus Devon, or am I missing something from the story here that made Anderson so important? Because Anderson's a great worker, but I feel like you got Bully and Devon, and we could have had another Bully versus Devon story. And the best one we got was in ECW, and they had it right here for them to build Devon being the reason why Aces and Eights split up. Did they miss the mark by having it be Mr. Anderson and not Devon?
Too late, I think. Like, Mr. Anderson was a product of that time frame and was still very highly like if you're looking at the common fan, the average fan, just tuned in TNA. Oh, okay, there's the Dudley Boys. Okay, well, there was a guy who was just on WWE television within the last 3 years, 5 years.
I just had the Money in the Bank briefcase.
Yeah, like Devon, he was in ECW. That was in the 90s. Like, this is going on 20 years later.
Yeah, I think I think the whole point of it being Anderson, because I feel like we kind of talked about this earlier with Anderson. There was the whole, okay, I'm going to join Aces and Eights, but it's like against my, it was the whole, because he was kind of against them. So I think that's kind of went back, because maybe it was like a full circle moment.
A call back to it. I get that. Okay, that makes sense.
Yes,
Too. Yeah.
I guess that's what they were thinking. But I think another thing you got to keep in mind is with the creative, because at this point, Bischoff and Hogan had started watching The Walking Dead, and they were trying to develop a new group that would be around zombies. Now, granted, of course, then they ended up leaving TNA, thank God, but
they switched it over to A&E, and they watched
like,
Breaking Bad. And they were like, "We got
Dead.
this idea where you guys are going to cook meth in the back now."
That's
There you
sorry.
go.
James Mitchell was gone by this point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, instead of electrified steel cages, they've got meth houses and Winnebago matches.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, that's essentially all of my notes and talking points for the night. So for the next little bit, I guess we can freeball anything from matches to moments.
Hey, I'm
Anything
freeballing
that you
right
guys
now.
have
What?
left for our aces and eights conversation. I'm opening the floor to you guys because my checks are checked.
DadHat.
That's it.
Oh, the
I
only
was just
thing,
hold on.
yeah.
I was shooting for 40 minutes and I made
on.
my time.
Hold on. I'm gonna see if I can work some technology. Nope,
Look at
not
that.
nope, not what I need.
Oh.
Hold on.
DadHat. He presses the buttons. He plays with it. Look at
Yeah,
him go.
nope, not what I need. Not what I need.
It's the same button again, Bubba. It's
No.
not going to change.
Oh, okay. Ooh.
Whoa.
Oh.
Hey.
Oh.
Now he's not going to be able to get us back. Oh, there we are.
Oh, we're here. We're alive. I'm alive. I'm dead.
Okay, here we go.
God. Oh God.
Oh,
I'm
Oh,
gonna give you the floor to
You want-
really tell us how you feel about the aces and eights.
fuck. All right. Like I said, just everything about this was lame from the get-go. I will admit, when they very first started, there was the intrigue of the mystery, but once the mask was taken off and it was Defon, it was like, okay, I know, you know exactly what the fuck was happening. Like, it was plain as day. Like, it was just fucking let's just let's take things that are quote unquote popular at the time, popular to the Hulk Hogan demographic. I'm sure he watched the fuck out of I'm sure he watched the shit out of Sons of Anarchy. You know, I could totally see that. And Bischoff too. Bischoff, because Bischoff's a motorcycle guy, so of course, like, oh, it was like a wet dream. I bet back when he was like driving to Sturgis all those years for Road Wild, he was hoping maybe someday he could do a motorcycle gimmick. And like, well,
He had a
here you
naked
go.
picture of Jax Teller hanging above his bed.
Yeah. Oh God, but it just everything about it was lame. It was stupid. There was guys in this group where it's like I don't buy them being the biker thing. Although I will say they never officially came out and said they were a biker gang. I don't think, but I mean the way they were presented, the way that it was like even the fucking music was a ripoff of the Sons of Anarchy.
They called people prospects. They had a sergeant at arms, a
A
president,
vice president.
yeah, a vice president.
They did have an MC on the cut.
And
I would like to see like a real biker gang watch this shit. and be
I
like,
was
what
about
the
to throw it out
fuck?
there. We all have a mutual friend who used to partake in that lifestyle. So he and I have had many conversations about it. And in my opinions, Aces and Eights were exactly that. They were a ripoff of a biker gang. In my opinion, the suspension of disbelief, I had fun rewatching some of it, and some of it was cringe as fuck. You know what I mean? Some of it was like, this was just really poorly done. It's like the Communist Manifesto. It looks great on paper, but it's really shit in execution. You know what I mean? Like Aces and Eights looks like it should be a fantastic WWE doing an Aces and Eights concept in 2025 with their production value and the way they could do it would be fire.
Cinematic
20,
matches.
yeah,
You mean
2012
Undertaker?
Q&A. Yeah,
Like the
badass.
boneyard
it.
match screams aces and
I get it.
eights.
I don't think Aces and Eights would get away if they went into Central Florida wearing their Aces and Eights cuts out in public. They would not have those cuts on very long. That's how close to looking like a biker gang they were, whether they wanted to be or not.
Let me ask you guys this. Can you name me somebody on the TNA roster at that time who would have fit more into that gimmick, the biker gimmick on the TNA roster?
Tyson Tomko?
Yeah,
Was
if
Tomko
he-
still there at the time?
I could buy that. I couldn't see him as leader,
Yeah.
but I could see him as like a biker.
He could be a
gimmick.
member.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. It's like they went in the complete opposite direction. I think that was one of my biggest problems of this. It's like, you mean to tell me fucking my name is is fucking leading a biker gang? A fucking biker gang?
If there was
Like,
somebody who watched Sons of Anarchy and was like, you know what the fuck I want to do? I want to make a biker gang for my next gimmick. It was Bully fucking Ray. I'll call it right here. Like, you know, in Bully we trust. He's been going on a tirade on X. I love him on Twitter. I think it's hilarious.
Oh yeah.
I like Busted Open. You know, him and Uncle Dave LaGreca. Like, that's my Uncle Dave. Fuck Meltzer. Like, I fully admit it. I like Busted Open. I think it's a good wrestling podcast. You know, but like, This was not the move. He went home, he watched Sons of Anarchy, and he said, fuck yeah, I'm Ron Perlman in wrestling form. Like,
like I almost think maybe he did it out of spite, or it was a joke or something, or get you know. But they fucking went with it for 2 fucking years.
I bring it up a lot, and when Russo was on the show, he talked about how in TNA it was him and it was Dixie and it was Hogan and Bischoff and it was all these minds like pitching ideas and just throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what they could get to stick. And this very much feels like one of those where it was just like somebody had the idea to do a biker gang, so they did a biker gang. You know what I mean? And
I'm not excited for Dixie Carter to start being a fixture on my TV.
You're in for some treats.
You're getting there. You're fucking close.
I'm in middle of 2007.
Oh, so you're a little further off than I thought.
You got a little bit. You got
like
a
10,
little ways, but
2010,
yeah,
right?
about
XLJ? 09, 2010 range. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you're in for some sights, my friend.
This is now at an Impact TNA podcast channel, ladies and gentlemen.
We're here for it.
We're just going through my journey.
Wait till you get into the AJ Styles
Lone Wolf
storyline.
Yeah, I mean, I watched that complete history of that.
AJ Styles doing Styles clashes off the stage through tables and stuff. Like Kurt Angle starts doing running moonsaults. Like,
I mean, that's one of the best moments ever in TNA is that moonsault.
Yeah. Oh, you're getting to peak Kurt Angle, in my opinion. Yeah. Like nothing he did in WWE reaches what he did, what you're about to watch him do in TNA.
Yeah.
So
it's pretty wild.
Yeah. What's up, boys? That's all I got for you.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'm tired.
It's not like you work 1 million hours a week, got 1 million kids and a wife to take care of.
Yeah, you know, just a little bit.
The most responsible one of all of us, probably.
Well, I do what I can. All right. We're going to wrap up things. I'm going to go to bed. But XLJ, let them know where they can find you. What you got going on?
So what you're saying is you want to do a plug-a-palooza? Yeah. What have I got going on? Okay. Well, over on Cole TV.
Besides your other than your shoot job.
Oh, shoot jobs. Yeah, it's so real life, keeping it real with y'all. Recently got a promotion. So back in the saddle of doing what I used to do back in the day. So kind of handling that, mixing with Cole TV and stuff. Been a little busy.
I thought you were about to say you were back in the saddle on your OF page, but hey.
Oh, I'm that Feet Finder, brother. It's Feet Finder. Yeah. But yeah. And Fansley. Fansley's a good to me. But anyways, so what's going on with Cole TV? So
Will's just writing these websites down. I'm like, I need to visit.
I'm already subscribed.
Oh yeah.
He gets my $289 a month.
Oh yeah, it's the best $289 he spends, brother. Anyways, so Cole TV. So we are officially started our 4th season on Cole TV, which is crazy to think. So all of our shows are premiering. We've got new episodes of I'm Your Huckleberry, The Hunt, Friday Night Movie Night. The season 3, season 3 premiere is about to begin. That'll be coming up here very soon on Cole TV. Also, you can catch us every Monday for Pro Wrestling 60, where we recap everything that happens in the world of professional wrestling. And coming up, we got a big April coming up because, as y'all know, it is the biggest show of them all. WrestleMania is coming, so we'll be in Vegas for WrestleMania. Going to be at the Collective. Matter of fact, we're going to have an exclusive Collective week on Cole TV where it's going to be fallout from all the vlogs from all the shows I go to there. So, and then literally, it's gonna be nuts, boys, because literally the weekend after Mania, after I get back from Vegas, then we're going to be at Indianapolis for Squared Circle Expo 5. So we'll have a bunch of content coming to you in April for sure. But right now we've got just all of our shows going on and whatnot, and you can catch that over on Cole TV. And you can find me on all socials. You can find me on the, of course, TikTok, because it's still a thing for now. You can catch me over. You can get me over on Instagram. You can catch me on Blue Sky because I don't do X, fuck X, but I do Blue Sky. But just look me up, XLJ the OG. And of course, you can catch me here on Wreckage. And hopefully, God willing, the next season of Fantasy Warfare, we're going to be getting that started. Hopefully, here before too long. We're gonna try to get that up and running again. Been a little bit of a challenge with all the craziness that's going on in life, but hopefully that'll be coming to you soon. Here.
I feel like since I beat Will the first time, I need to give him a chance for redemption at some point.
Rematch, baby.
I think that was close enough that we could do a round 2.
Like we could choose some other. I don't remember which ones we did.
ECW versus AEW.
Was it?
I think
was it that
so.
one? Or was it?
No, it was
W versus the fuck. I don't remember. I
I
didn't
don't
look
remember.
back at the episode. It's a lifetime ago.
I'm gonna look while Will plugs his stuff.
First and foremost, I want to say thank you, as always, for letting me have a space to hang out here. I am the Will Gray. I am one of the founders here at World Championship Wreckage. If you check my link tree at the Will Gray, you will find everything that I do for Rivet City Radio and Botch Spots and Share Shots. Most importantly, make sure you're checking out my TikTok starting on March 1st as I start to incorporate all of my video game streams from my RuneScape questing and skilling through my Fortnite and some of the other shenanigans I'll be getting into. I got lots of really fun stuff coming. I'm starting a movie review series, by the way, called Movies Matt Made Me Watch. Me and the warden, Matt Ritter, have been curating a lists of movies that I'm going to be reviewing Mystery Science Theater 3000 style while getting lifted Will Gray style. So thanks as always. I love you both dearly.
Can I suggest a movie for you to review?
AEW versus WCW.
AEW.
Okay, that's what it was. Okay.
Yeah.
A movie I think you should review. Cheap plop here. How about Friday night movie night, the movie The Christmas Special? Huh?
Ooh.
We made a movie? Yes. Which, by the way, gentlemen, just to let you know and announce to the world, we have actually submitted the movie for the Guinness World Record of the Christmas special that mentions cum sock the most. And I think we're going to get it. Because I think the count was over 200 or something like that. So fingers crossed we get that record. It's a dream.
That would be hilarious.
It's a dream.
If they were like, you know what, fuck it, give it to them.
Give it to them. Like nobody. It's like I think we just barely beat out Jingle All the Way, but I think we've got it.
247 references of cum socks.
I can't even say that in the Arnold voice. I can't even say it.
Cum sock, oh, Jamie, why do you come? Oh, okay, that was a little much. Sorry.
Now I got hiccups. Thanks, but
who is your daddy and what does he do? And why is he got cum sock?
I love you boys so much. I am DadHat Wrestling.
Get to the chopper. Sorry, DadHat, this is your show.
Oh, you're fine. I needed that. I am DadHat Wrestling everywhere on social media. You can find me here. You can find me on PW60 over on Cole TV with DadHat's advice of the week, tip of the week. As long as XLJ continues to remind me, because I forget every fucking week, because I don't know what day of the week it is.
It's all good, brother.
I just know I just know when I am and when I'm not supposed to be at work. Like, other than that, I don't have no idea what day of the week it is. You can find me behind the scenes here. You can find me, like I said, on all socials. I post stuff when I can now. But before we get down to, the late, great Dusty Rhodes, we got to pick a topic for the next episode. XLJ, you're on deck.
All right, I got you. What I would like to talk about is, I think, one of the greatest pay-per-views of the 90s. And it's not from the WWF. It's not from WCW. It's not even from ECW. I want to talk about a pay-per-view that I think was very prolific, as it really introduced a massive amount of North American audience to Lucha Libre. I want to talk about When Worlds Collide. Love that show.
I've never seen
Such a good show. Oh, you're in for a treat, buddy.
You're in for a treat. Tell me where I can freaking watch it.
It's on YouTube.
YouTube. Pretty sure, yeah. Great show.
Just put the link in our thing.
So that's the topic I'd like to talk about.
All right.
It's very historic. WCW did produce the pay-per-view, so that's kind of interesting to talk about that aspect of it. But yes, great show.
All right. Well, that's what we'll do next time. That might be next week. That might be 6 months from now. But hey, we'll do it. So, all right, folks. Well, for the Will Gray, for XLJ, the OG, I'm DadHat Wrestling. Good night, everybody.
Yeah, baby, I got one more thing to say. Your gas tank is full. Your dipstick is in. Your windows washed. Y'all come back and see me again.